Welcome, everyone, to this week's Football Officials educational video for the 2025 football season. Just real quick, I want to thank everyone for watching last week's video, but also prior to last week's video, I had 978 subscribers, and officially, as of today, I have 1,042. And the awesome part about that is that tells me there's over 1,000 officials out there trying to improve their officiating skills. So great job to all the officials who are taking time to try to improve their officiating skills by watching these videos. Greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into this week's play. This week's play involves an extra point that we're going to see turns into basically a busted play, and our holder muffs the ball, rolls out to the right, and throws the ball downfield. We're going to take a look at a number of things in this play. We're going to break it down mechanics wise and also look at the play itself. And so let's break some things down here so we can improve our officiating skills. First part of this play is our focus is going to be on the holder right here is on a knee, receives the snap, doesn't handle it, place it on the ground for the kicker, gets up and then rolls out to the head linesman's side of the field after basically a busted play. And so now we're going to break this down mechanics wise on the play on how our officials can improve to officiate on a play like this. And first of all, always be prepared and always expect something like this in your games. All right, let's look at the referee's position here and what he does on this play. So first of all, we know by the mechanics manual, the referee on a normal extra point has responsibility for contact, ruling on contact on the holder or the kicker. In this case, we have a busted play, and we see that our holder now turns into a runner and eventually becomes a passer. And so with that holder going away by the arrow here, the referee did move, but we'd like to see you get a little bit more depth and a little bit closer so that if you have to rule on any contact over there, you're a little bit closer. The other thing here to remember is if this play were to go the other way, the line judge side, by the mechanics manual, the referee has to get to the sideline to help rule on that sideline because we have the line judge underneath the goalpost. But if you move a little bit closer that way, you have a little bit better angle potentially, and making any type of decision will obviously look better when you go back and review the play and you have a better visual on it. We will now shift our attention to the head linesman, and the head linesman here is on proper position on the 3-yard line as we have an extra point, only one on the line of scrimmage. But as soon as you recognize the busted play right about here, you need to immediately get yourself to the goal line and in position at the goal line. One, because you're the only person on the goal line at this point in time. Number two, the mechanics say that when we get inside, the ball's inside the 5-yard line on the snap, you immediately go. Now, granted, this was a kicking play, so you'd have to rule if the ball crossed. But once we realize busted play, get yourself to the goal line in position. Now, the head linesman does move there, but let's get there a little bit quicker, a little bit earlier in the play so you're in position already. All right, let's shift our attention to our back judge here. I've highlighted inside the gold circle. And on this play, the back judge is already on the side of the play. So not a lot of changes here. The back judge already starts out in good position just because of the nature of the play. Keeps the play boxed in, moves a little bit towards the play here at the end. Not a lot of changes there at all, or nothing to change really, because the back judge started out in a good position to begin with just because of where the play ended up going. Now, if the play had went the other way, obviously the back judge may have to make some adjustments. Okay, we'll shift our focus to the umpire that I have highlighted here inside the circle. And basically on a play like this umpire does the proper thing, turns, as you'll see in the play, turns towards the direction of the play to observe those blocks. Nothing really major to adjust here. Make sure we, turn towards the play, be looking for the blocking and so forth, and help the crew out. Because remember, on these types of plays, 5-person crew makes it challenging, but the umpire turns here the direction of the play and should be focused on any type of block in that vicinity or in that area. So we're not really going to make a whole lot of adjustment because obviously the umpire starts out and they're pretty much their normal position on an extra point or field goal play. We'll now shift and direct our attention to the line judge, what I have highlighted. The line judge has the biggest responsibility here to a point because they have the biggest adjustment to make because they're up underneath the upright, not in their normal position on a scrimmage play, but that's where we have them on the extra point. So it leaves their side vacated. When this play goes away from the line judge, we would ideally like to see the line judge move away from the play and, if they can, when it's safe, to the goal line here to help officiate this play from the backside. Now, obviously, if this play was coming towards them, the only thing they could do is go along the end line there. It wouldn't be safe to come up. But when possible, get up there and help officiate the play from the backside, clean up some of this stuff that our officials won't see because they're focused going away, towards the head linesman side of the field. But try to get up there and help out. You're going to have to move as quickly as you can and make sure it's safe to do so. But you have probably the biggest adjustment to make to help on these busted plays because you're not in your normal position. So try to help your crew out the best you can. All right, let's turn our attention to these two players I have highlighted inside the circle here. Now, there is a potential hold here. You may rule it a hold, you may not. A couple things we have to look at initially. If they're both standing upright, is this really the point of attack? We have the runner, the holder, which was now the runner, going away from the play on the distance there. So right here, you may not deem that would be a hold you want to call. You may not even rule that to be a hold. But when the two players go to the ground, we have to look at and say, okay, did the offensive player take the defensive player to the ground? The biggest challenge on this play is who's going to see this. Our referee's focus, as it should be, is over here on the player, the holder, which became the runner and then eventually becomes the passer. The umpire's position is probably obstructed, number one, and number two, his focus is more so out front of this play. Obviously, the head linesman's not going to see it, nor is the back judge. And our line judge, when it happens, he's not going to be in position to see it and is going to be moving over and is really going to, maybe catch the tail end of it. And when we, make a decision on a play like this, we want to see the entirety of the play. So this is maybe a case where we just don't get it, but we observe the other action and we can rule on that better. It's just a challenge of a 5-person crew in a play like this. All right, let's talk about the snapper on this play, and specifically, we're going to have a foul here by the snapper ineligible downfield. Now, the snapper's number is number 22, so he's got an eligible number and an ineligible position. And if you're the umpire, you got to identify this. You got to know that you have that eligible number with an ineligible position. Though you got to know that snapper. Line judge, back judge, you should be communicating who the eligible numbers are so that when a play like this takes place, you can recognize, number 22, I don't remember him being eligible. We didn't communicate that because I don't see a marker down on the field, a penalty marker down on this play, but we needed to have one, even though the results was an incomplete pass. And you can see right here, I had the snapper identified with the arrow, and right there he is coming down right across in front of the umpire. And the umpire's got to recognize that. That should be the first person to recognize it. And if the back judge and line judge recognize it, that's great. And you can see him down here in the back of the end zone. So he's definitely an ineligible downfield. And we got to get this. I've seen this play a number of times in games. And even that, the snapper catches the ball and no marker down. And we really need to talk about this in our pre-games. We really need to focus it because on these scrimmage plays, whether it be a punt, field goal, an extra point, we've got to get a marker down. We got to identify this because it's not good for the crew and it's not good for the rules. And so we can see here the snapper snaps the ball, realizes it's a busted play, and here he comes out downfield. And like I said, I don't see a marker. There could be one down, but I don't see a marker. But even though the results of the play is incomplete, we still want a marker on the field. We still want a penalty marker so we can say we identified it because we've got an ineligible receiver downfield, and this is getting missed at times. So we need to improve upon this. And, if something's going to happen a lot of times, it's going to happen on our scrimmage play, our kicks. Scrimmage kicks are free kicks, especially our scrimmage kicks, because these teams are using the numbering exception as they can by rule. And when we get those numbers that are eligible numbers, but in an ineligible position, we need to identify them. We need to know who's legally able to go downfield and catch the ball and who's not. And it can get difficult on these plays, so we need to focus on that and identify them, and even maybe use our radios and communicate that information to the crew. Snapper number 22 ineligible. There could be other players. So everybody has to work together as a crew. I would even, suggest that, let's say you're the back judge or the line judge in this play, and you see 22, and you're like, I don't remember us communicating 22 as an eligible receiver. So we put a marker down. We can always come together and say, hey, I had number 22 downfield, and we didn't have it as an eligible number. Where did that player come from? And, hopefully the umpire says, oh, 22 was my snapper. And then we say, okay, so, the flag is valid. The marker on the field's valid. But when we miss this, and if, let's just say they would have thrown the ball to number 22 and he would have caught the ball and it would have been a successful 2-point conversion. And then we come back and look at this play as we are now in a video and be like, we should have got that as a foul, as a penalty on the offense here. So talk about this in your pregame. Talk about this in your pregame. Focus on it. Be prepared for it. Be ready and know those eligible and ineligible numbers, and be ready to officiate a play exactly like this on a scrimmage kick, so you and your crew can get it right and get the marker down if necessary. These last couple of weeks, I've done 3 videos on kicking plays, free kicks, scrimmage kicks, and that's just how important it is that we focus on these plays, talk about them in our pregame, and be prepared for crazy things to happen on kicking plays, because it does. So let's focus on that, and let's have a great season as we prepare. Thanks everyone for taking the time to watch this video. Please feel free to share this video, hit the like button, comment, provide feedback, your comments of what you and your crew may do on plays like this, so that we can all learn from each other and get better. Take care and have a great week.